Hey, this is a Hakawati production. My guest today recently launched a consulting agency dedicated to promoting and showcasing Saudi talent to the rest of the world. Saudi Arabia is a pretty big market. There are over 33 million people compared to, say, just under 10 million in the UAE. And the average income is around $54,000 a year. So you can imagine that brands and companies and organizations from other parts of the world would be interested in getting their foot in the door now, as the country moves away from depending on oil and opens up as a more modern and diversified economic model. But how can these foreign companies and entities make sure that they're coming in with the right strategy? For example, how can an American fashion brand connect with the right influencers or place their products in the right magazine editorials? There's a lot of room for error for sure, especially in a place like Saudi Arabia where the whole concept of culture and entertainment is just in its nascent stage. And there's no real existing framework for this kind of marketing or PR. That's where today's guest comes in. His platform is called Authenticité. His mission? To be a bridge into Saudi Arabia's burgeoning creative scene as the kingdom tries to open up and fulfill its Vision 2030 plan. Joining us from Dubai, please welcome to the show, Hatem Alakeel. Hello, Hatem Alakeel.
Hello, how are you?
Great, thanks so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. I've been admiring your podcast, and I think that it's great that you're tapping into topics that I'm also quite passionate about.
Well, great minds think alike.
Absolutely.
Nah. All right. So this is such an interesting project that you've started. But before we get into it, let's let everyone know that you didn't just pop out of nowhere. You're also creative yourself. You told me that you've been working in content creation for a long time, although you just kind of officialized this new platform that you started. But you're also a Saudi fashion designer.
Yes. It's been 15 years now since I started my brand, Toby. The whole idea about starting this brand was because I found a niche that I was looking for, which is basically, when I had to go to the bank, I worked in banking and I had to wear a thobe every day. A thobe is a traditional garment that Saudis wear. In Saudi, it's called thobe. In the UAE, it's called kandora, and in Kuwait, it's called dishdasha. So basically, it's a traditional, and it's the equivalent of a suit. So it's either you wear a suit or you wear a thobe. And, I felt it was more appropriate to wear a thobe, but I refused to wear the same thing every day. And I felt like my identity was, the whole idea, purpose of dressing up is to kind of express your identity. And for me, it was always about me wanting to express my individuality. So I decided to find a few tailors and then change the thobe a little bit, give it a few subtle touches. And it wasn't until I went to Savile Row in London and a light bulb went out in my head and said, you know what? This is what I want to do. I want to bring a bit of Savile Row into tradition. We don't have this, savoir-faire in tailoring and stitching when it comes to the thobe. It's very generic. So I wanted to kind of elevate it and give it a bit more polish, give it a bit more of a kind of international appeal. And I realized at the bank that people kept on asking me, where can I get the same thobe? Where did you buy them? I'm like, where I make them. And I was offering them as gifts initially. And then I'm like, what, why don't I just turn that into a business? So I decided to open my first boutique in 2007. And then the rest is history. The demand started. We started from the house, got a few tailors, and then it just grew into a full-fledged boutique. And then Dubai Fashion Week 2008 asked me to participate and do my first fashion show. I was quite lucky at the time. Are you familiar with Sheikh Majid al-Sabah?
No.
Okay, so Sheikh Majid al-Sabah is literally the pioneer in retail in the entire region. He brought a concept called Villa Moda. Villa Moda was the first multi-brand boutique to be in Dubai. They had major boutiques in the IFC, in Bahrain, and in Kuwait. And talking about brands such as, Dolce Gabbana, Prada, all the super multi-brands that you can imagine. He attended my fashion show, so I was quite lucky because from the first show that I had, I was alongside, my collection was bought alongside Marni, Prada, and all the international brands. And this was kind of my whole ethos. What I wanted to communicate is that something traditional can have the international appeal. Something traditional can't hold its own with the international brands. So from there, of course, I was my own content creator. So I would create my own photo shoots. I would create my own short films. And literally every collection, I would make sure that I would have a proper, photo shoot done. Photo shoots that can be featured in magazines such as Esquire. I mean, at that time we didn't have GQ, but we had Esquire. We had, Bespoke, as you're familiar, and there were quite a few other magazines. Rajul, which was very supportive, and it kind of really put the thobe on the fashion map. And I'm proud, to be part of that movement, to kind of change perception, elevate tradition, and make people look at tradition from a different perspective. In everything that I do, this is what my message has been that I may be very westernized because of my exposure. I'm French educated. I went to a French lycée boarding school, and then I went to high school and university in the States. But when I moved back, I realized that there must be some way where I can find a tool that I can describe my travels and my Western experience with my pride of my Saudi heritage. So
let's just explain that T by Toby, your brand, basically what you did is you put a Western tailored collar on the thobes and you played around with the fabrics, right? And so you basically meshed the East and the West while maintaining it's still more Eastern than Western, but you gave it that flavor. So I love how it represents really who you are. And it's also basically, I think you revolutionized Saudi's fashion scene.
Well, I'm blessed. Initially, at that time, it was definitely very brave of anyone to get into fashion, because the whole idea of fashion was still kind of not the norm.
Yeah, because everyone is covered. Men are wearing thobes, women are wearing abayas. So I see
Exactly.
it wasn't a big industry. I could see that. And let's just say, remind everyone also that you have a children's line. I just want to share it because it's so cute. You have thobes that are like little tuxedos for little boys. They're really, really cute, very creative, so cool and cute that even Snoop Dogg wore one in one of his videos a few years back, right?
I've been blessed. I mean, I've had Snoop Dogg wear it at his concert in Dubai when he came, and we dressed his entire team for his concert. And then he surprised me because I gave him 12 pieces, and he wore the famous tuxedo thobe, which I designed for him at his concert. And then after that, and 2 months later, a friend of mine gives me a call and he tells me, "Turn the TV on. Your entire collection is in the Here Comes the King music video." So it definitely proved that street style, that the thobe can also be hip, it can be cool, it can be international. There's a large Muslim and Arab community globally that kind of took the thobe and really appreciated the fact that the tradition has been celebrated, and not just as a traditional garment, but something that's also relevant and fun to wear. And then it continued with Christian Louboutin. Louboutin, who's a friend of mine. Christian is a friend of mine. He had his Marie Claire photo shoot cover, Marie Claire France cover shoot, and he used one of my shirts for the shoot. So that also kind of redefined, traditional on the Western international stage.
Yeah.
And then after that, as kind of the icing on the cake, or the cherry on the cake, the Prince William's polo team wanted to have a Saudi designer to commission in designing their polo team outfits. So I was also it was such a privilege to be able to attend the polo match of Prince William, wearing my designs. It was actually quite surreal to see that. So I mean, I encourage designers to really think and dream and get out of the box. And the whole idea for me, my whole message has always been about showing that tradition can be relevant, showing that tradition can be chic, it can be polished, and to get it out of that very generic box and to kind of change stereotypes as well, you know?
Well, you're kind of doing that now with this new project as well, but now you're kind of doing it for other people, not just for with your own brand, right? So you started
Exactly.
a
Yeah.
platform called Authenticity,
Yes.
and tell us what it's all about.
It's Authenticité. We obviously I did it in the with the French spelling
Why?
because I'm French educated and you know there's a lot of French influence and being in Switzerland for so long and the French say obviously it has had an impact on me. And I generally think that it has a more appealing twist if it sounds with the e accent. So that's why I mean at the same time also I think it's about it's content has gotten so contrived and content has gotten so cliche and a lot of brands don't do the extra research and don't take the extra mile to really get to understand the market and look at the perspective of the authentic perspective of how people really think it's Saudi. Especially the Generation Z. I mean, you'd be amazed by how progressive and how much they love brands, but also how much integrating tradition, their heritage is also important. If you ask any 25-year-old, 20 or 23-year-old, they'll tell you, okay, yes, we love, the super brands, but we also want local brands to be intertwined with what they're wearing. So I think, I'll give you an example. Some international brands have shot a few campaigns in Saudi, and there's one guy wearing a traditional shumar. You know what the shumar is? It's the headdress that we wear.
Yeah.
And the way it was worn and the way it was placed was not correct. And we can see right through it, like immediately.
How was it placed? What's the right way and what's the wrong way?
The way it was done, just how there's a fold in the front, right?
Yeah.
And it takes it took me years to get it right, but I finally got it right. Going to the bank when I was working in banking, I had to wear it every day.
It's like it's like the equivalent of a tie. It's like you need to work on your knot and your fold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we can see right through it as Saudis. So content needs to be approached very carefully when you're penetrating the Saudi market, and it has to be authentic. Topics, personalities, locations, designers, a mise en page in a magazine, how it's done. There's so many elements that come into inspiring, captivating, and really changing perception. Because there's a misconception about tradition. Immediately they think someone who is traditional is primitive. And actually, I disagree. I think that holding on to your tradition and moving it forward gives you even more of a stronger sense of identity. Because if you don't know your origin, you don't know your roots, then where is your identity? And so this is the whole ethos behind what Authenticity is about. I'm on the search for all the authentic talent, the voices that have not been able to kind of be heard. Because for me as a designer, I would always have to come to Dubai to get my message across, to do my PR, to do my shows. And it was a long, hard journey to get my brand recognized. So I'm going to make it my mission that all the authentic, whether it's artists, whether it's designers, whether it's product developers, whether it's interior designers, anyone that has something unique and authentic to offer, will make it my mission to highlight their work, profile them, and make sure that they have a strong word of mouth. Because, alhamdulillah, I've been in the market now for almost 15 years, and I've been blessed with a supportive network. I'm also a contributor for a bureau and a contributor for Hiya magazine, which basically covers the spectrum of English and Arabic. And I feel like it's kind of my mission to elevate and showcase all the beauty that comes from Saudi and the MENA region. But I want to make sure that they are authentic and that they have a message and that they have their own stamp. I think that with COVID-19, things have changed, and the mass market and the chains, the McDonaldization of products, of fashion, of everything has shifted to things that are a bit more authentic, to fashion that has more longevity, to a mindset that is more linked with humanity, with giving back, with empathy and quality. And even I think that, we have some amazing local artisans that we need to celebrate that have been overlooked because fast fashion ruled. And I believe that fast fashion will no longer have as much importance as celebrating all the local artisans, whether it's Saudi, whether it's Lebanon, whether it's Morocco. There's a wealth and a plethora of amazing talent out there that we don't necessarily know about because we wanted to play it easy. We didn't want to bother or take any risks. I think now it's time to start really, for designers, it's an opportunity for them to really flex their design muscles and think of the importance of sustainability.
Yeah, and besides the fact that COVID-19, the world is changing, but, I think Saudi Arabia, we all know, is really changing at a fast pace with part of Vision 2030 to invest in culture and talent. I was reading the plan today, that section of the plan. It's very clearly spelled out that they want to support that carefully and invest in it. And they even created a Ministry of Culture, which didn't exist before. But I imagine that because it's so new, there's no real framework, as you said, for PR, marketing, for all this industry. So
Yes.
I guess you're kind of stepping in and trying to create some kind of framework to start with. So it must be kind of a new, unexplored realm, I would imagine. But I did a little test because I was putting myself in the shoes of an international company, let's say Adidas. Let's say I was on the global marketing team at Adidas, and we wanted to partner up with Saudi Arabia's coolest R&B singer or performer. So I would go on Google and I would Google this, like coolest Saudi performer. And so I did that, and there aren't that many names that came up, to be honest. I got someone called Michel Tamer. Do you know that person?
Yes, Michal is fantastic. The cool thing about Michal is that he's Ecuadorian Saudi, and he is celebrating his Ecuadorian heritage and his Saudi heritage. So you're talking about English, Spanish, and Arabic in one tune, which is fantastic. He definitely is one of the rising stars. And you also have someone like Qusay, who is one of the first rappers. Literally started some R&B, some rap, and rapped in Arabic. Was one of the pioneers in rap.
So I would do really well, I think, if I was on that marketing team. But see, I only found like one good person, and then you would come in and be like, "There's also this other guy and this other person."
Absolutely, I think also the algorithms maybe are not properly placed. Maybe there needs to be a bit more focus on that. And this is the beauty of what the Ministry of Culture is going to be doing, is to really highlight and create different departments. Now they have a fashion department, which will be established very soon. The mandate has not been passed on yet, but we went to the Fashion Futures exhibition that they had, which was incredible, which is headed by Her Royal Highness Princess Rima Bandar, who is the ambassador to the United States, the first female ambassador to the United States, Saudi female ambassador to the United States. And they have some amazing initiatives that are lined up. The beauty of MBS is that he literally has placed a very dynamic and young team of professionals who are really holding the reins on moving the country forward. So I couldn't be any happier. And it's music to my ears to see all these dynamic, incredible people who have been placed in such great positions. So the future is bright. But remember, Rome wasn't built in a day. So we need time. And these things take time. And sadly now with COVID-19, things have had to kind of be put on hold. But there's a lot of really inspiring developments.
You mentioned the algorithm in Saudi Arabia, and I think recently announced they're investing also 20 billion in AI. So you said Rome wasn't built in a day, but I would say that like Saudi is like Rome on steroids, because they're going to build. It looks like they're building really fast. Of course, as you said, there's still a lot of work to do. And just because you're investing and developing, the foundations need to evolve and kind of settle, I think, before there's anything concrete there.
Of course.
Yeah. But have you participated in many events that the government has kind of sponsored and supported? And did you feel that you were just talking about one, but I'm sure they're doing a lot of this stuff. Do you feel that it's authentic, as you said, and you feel that it's going places, that these events and these projects that they're supporting are successful?
There are some incredible projects. I was commissioned by ISRA, which is the World Center for Culture. It's an Aramco-based company. It is an incredible institution, which I feel privileged to have been able to work with them. They asked me, this is actually how Authenticité started. About 2 years ago, I was commissioned to create a forum and an exhibition for Saudi fashion. So I basically highlighted all the stars, the fashion stars, Reem Al-Kanhal, Razan Al-Azouni, Noor al-Sheikh, Shador, to display their work at the center and to create a forum alongside. So we created a dialogue between, Snapchat, MIT, London School of Fashion, and experts in artificial intelligence, experts in technology. We created workshops on how to build a brand. We brought the Marzouks, who are these amazing Kuwaiti designers who are literally changing the face of accessories. They're literally dressing, Kylie Jenner, Beyonce, you name it. And this center, you have to see the architecture itself. It's like really amazing, progressive, symbolic tower of hope for Saudi. They're the first to start having cinemas. We're talking about like an 800-seated cinema and a theater that's world-class theater. So you're talking on a museum that is a standard of the Louvre. So it really is an impressive institution to be associated with. It's called ITHRA, ITHRA. I highly advise that you maybe go to their website and see what kind of amazing initiatives they have been conducting. And also, they have a very strong focus on technology, development of technology. It's really the Saudi of the future. So just to see this dialogue between local designers and international platforms have this conversation. We also we had a forum, and I created this panel discussion called Made in KSA. So this is basically an initiative that we have been wanting to kind of promote and create with Her Royal Highness Princess Noor Al Faisal, who also attended the forum. And now she has an amazing platform that is basically an incubator for the local community to provide them with opportunities on how they can further their craft, whether it's interior design, whether it's fashion, whether it's art. This whole movement of local entrepreneurs holding the reins and taking action in creating an ecosystem in Saudi that can provide opportunities for the talent community. And this is also part of what Authenticité is doing, is to bridge and connect and create opportunities for all these amazing, talented people who we don't necessarily know. For example, not everyone is lucky like you and me who've had, college education, or I went to the States, I went to Boston and so forth. Many people have the talent, but they don't know how to cultivate their talents. And I think part of what the Ministry of Culture is doing as well is there are people who can tap into what they're good at and give them opportunities on turning their talent into a business opportunity as well. Because, as a fashion designer, what I realized is that it can also provide job opportunities. It can provide career opportunities as well. So people didn't realize that there's actually there is opportunity in the arts, or there's opportunity in fashion, or there's opportunity in product design. Not everyone that needs to become a lawyer or a doctor to succeed and get further themselves in their careers. There are certain ways where you can really excel and love what you do.
Yeah. Definitely. And the KSA is investing so much in all of this, and it seems like they're not cutting any corners. So I would say that this is probably a great time for, the younger generation to be growing up there. An exciting time, even though, nothing's perfect and oil prices are down. And I'm sure they're having, some kinds of issues economically, like the rest of the world is. But they're definitely not, every project that they're doing, they're just going all out and, getting the right people, which is key, including you, I guess. So you also
You're very kind. Thank you.
Well, it's the truth. Clearly, you also have this other project, Gems of Saudi Arabia. Is that a podcast?
Actually, Gems of Arabia.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm getting everything wrong. Wait, let me say the name properly.
No.
Authenticité.
Authenticité, yeah.
Authenticité.
So Gems of Arabia, yeah, Authenticité, it has a more Frenchy side because of my French education background. But it's a play on words as well. And Gems of Arabia, because it's Saudi-centric, but my mission is also to bridge between the MENA region, to bridge between the amazing Lebanese artists, amazing Egyptian artists, and create potential collaborations. My brand, Toby, is not just West and East. It's a global fusion. And this is what inspired me. Everything should be a global fusion, but at the end, it's also about bridging cultures and creating one bridge that everyone can benefit from and everyone can celebrate. And Gems of Arabia is about profile. I've been doing it now for 3 years. I have a column at Bureau, profiling all the Arabs who are shaping the landscape, whether it's artists, whether it's someone like Princess Rina Bandar, who really is a role model to all of us, an exemplary figure, who is an intellectual, a humanitarian, and really leads by example. Someone like Masha'al al-Shamamri, who is the first aerospace Saudi engineer,
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, people like that who really are changing perception, adding tremendous value, and elevating the Arab identity. Because I think that as Arabs, especially the ones who have been exposed, it's our duty to communicate who we are and what we are capable of doing. No one else will do it for us. And this is why we have to also do it for other people. And I think it's my obligation to also highlight, since I have a platform that I can utilize, why not highlight all the people who have inspired me? Someone like Yusuf Nabil, who's an amazing artist. The list goes on and on.
Where's your column, you said?
Bureau is a international site. It used to call Bureau 24/7, and now it's called Bureau. It's an international publication. And I've been writing for them now for almost 3 years. They cover fashion, lifestyle, but also my Gems of Arabia is about really highlighting subjects that move us and subjects that affect the Arab world in a positive way.
Yeah, and then is it a podcast as well, or is it a YouTube kind of video? Because you're in a studio, you do your interviews in a studio. It's not a podcast, right?
Well, I mean, this is it's a column which I'm turning into a podcast. So the podcast literally came to fruition about a month ago, and we're still in the early stages of starting the audiovisual podcast. I did my first pilot, and now we're just looking at how we can further this. But
okay, so it's not yet on the podcasting platforms or anything. You just did the first pilot. No. Okay, well, that's great. Yeah. Good luck with that. That's amazing. I'm sure it'll be very successful. So I have to be honest. When I speak to my friends and family in the West, it's one thing to live in this part of the world and to witness all the subtleties of what's going on. you view things in a different way when you're here. But when you're in the West, my friends usually and family usually respond with a certain level of skepticism when I tell them about all the artistic stuff that's coming out of Saudi Arabia. They usually, first of all, point to the poor human rights record that country has. We all know, some crazy stuff has happened also. And then also, of course, its treatment of women. So, what we see from, at the outside world is, on the one hand, they're having all these big electronic music festivals with female DJs. And then on the other side, women still can't legally do many things that men can do. For example, public transportation and parks and beaches and amusement parks are segregated in most parts of the country. Is that right?
Well, not a lot has evolved in the past few
Yes.
years, and let's not forget that, people like to believe the cliches, it's, we're, some still think that we're, Alibaba 1001 nights on camels, and we have an oil well in our backyard. Like, some people still think that, so
that would be really amazing.
It would be really amazing, yes. And the thing is, like, the cliches and the stereotypes, sadly, are there because people don't, read between the lines. People need to, I think, educate themselves more, maybe get different sources and see what the new generation is like, see how far we've come, see all the great developments that have happened. But it's quite, unfortunately, it's quite selective, and a lot of the Western media has been a bit one-sided, unfortunately. But I really believe that if people really gauged into coming in with an open heart and discovered the amazing sense of hospitality we have, the beauty of incredible remote areas that we have, there's so many hidden gems in Saudi Arabia that we are now discovering, and we are communicating, and people realize that Saudi is really, it's a jewel.
Yeah, I know. I've seen there's like Alula Desert. Some of these places where they're hosting the festivals are beautiful, and I have no doubt that the hospitality is amazing. And yes, let's give credit where credit is due. Since 2019, females are allowed to travel alone, for example, without asking for their male guardians to get their passports for them. And so this is a big one. And women are allowed to drive now. Women are no longer forced to wear the abaya. However, from what I hear and what we hear, and let's be fair, the Western media doesn't have all access to all the subtleties and stuff, just like any media from a different country. The facts are the facts, that women are not allowed, from what I read, to show off their beauty. So just because they don't have to wear an abaya, it doesn't mean they can dress like they would in Los Angeles, of course. And if they do,
Prince
they'll
Mohammed bin Salman said that the Saudi woman is no longer required to wear abaya as long as she's dressed appropriately. So
appropriate. See, that's a matter of opinion, right? If the police thinks it's inappropriate, and he's old school, that lady's going to be in trouble.
Oh, you do not have that anymore now. Those really conservative officials are no longer, going around
really?
and bother. No, that's khalas. That's passé. It's no longer happening. If anything, now a lot of Saudi women can go around as long as they're dressed modestly. They can go around without having to wear abaya. Things have evolved. I mean, I have my own retail. When I had my own retail post-COVID, I had to turn everything online. I basically, during prayer time, we would have to, close, and then they would come and they would control. They were no longer there even before I closed my boutique. So things have evolved a lot.
Interesting.
You'd be surprised. There's so many stereotypes and there's so many cliches that are attached, unfortunately, that over the years.
Well, I think it's just that things are changing so fast that it's hard to keep up, and it's that's why it's important to talk to people who are inside, like the conversation we're having right now, just to get the real story.
You would be surprised by how amazing some of these Generation Z kids, how cultured, how educated, how forward thinking they are, but also they're still very kind of attached to their heritage, which is what I'm noticing from a lot of the new generation. the old generation it's hard to change the mentality. It's hard to change the perception. But a lot of them are accepting and inviting the positive changes that are happening, because in the end, it's also helping the perspective of the country itself. People are actually finding to see the real Saudi for what it really is, which is really a multifaceted country that has incredible destinations. I mean, I don't know if you've heard of Neom, but
yes, of course.
The waters are like crystal clear. You could be in the Maldives. Whereas, Abha, you have mountainous, hilly, beautiful greenery. I just did a campaign in Ta'if, and they have incredible. Like I myself, I'm reminded. And then you have Al-Ula. So, and not to mention all the historical sites that we have. I mean, archaeologists have been invited into the country, and a lot of them are saying that if archaeologists do their due diligence and discover, we have so many incredible other ruins and historical sites that the entire world can look forward to. So sky is the limit to what's going to happen for us, inshallah. And I think people just need to be a bit more open-minded and also look at our side and not focus so much on people who haven't even been into the country, who are talking about them.
Well, Hatem, that's the human condition. Hate to break it to you. But clearly there's a lot of positive change happening. Still a lot of work to do, I would imagine. I guess we'll see where it all goes. You seem super positive. So where can people find you? How can people get in touch with you? All these international brands and these big organizations that want to tap into this new exciting market, how can they reach you?
Well, I have my website, which is Authenticité.me. I have my Instagram, which is Authenticité by Hatem Alakeel on Instagram. And then, of course, my email, which is info@authenticité.me. I also have my own Instagram account, Hatem Alakeel. I mean, basically, like what
they just have to Google you. That's the truth.
Yeah.
Or go on Instagram and do a search for your name. They'll see. Yeah. They'll find you pretty quick. Hatem, thank you so much for coming on. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. You're full of positivity, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being on your podcast, and I commend you on all the great initiatives and interesting characters that you bring to your show. Thank you.
Shukran.
Afwan. Ya hala.
That's all for today. Hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and look for us on social media. Oh, we're on TikTok now. That's right. All of us at Hakawati have caved to the pressure and temptation of TikTok. It's fun though. Check it out. See you next time.